Welcome to another episode of that one. What are we called? Hey, people of YouTube. It's another episode of That One Church Family. I grew up on a tobacco farm in Stem, North Carolina. Sharon
grew up in Durham, which is a big city comparatively.
We moved here when we were 25 years old. And we've been here in Jordan for 14 years. You know, when we talk out here, people recognize that I have an accent, and they say, "You're not from around here, are you?" And then I have to tell them, "No, I grew up in North Carolina. I'm not from Montana, but I got here as quick as I could." And then they say, "Well, that's a major change." And it is. There were some things that we had to get used to. So today we're going to talk about the top 10 differences that we noticed when we moved from the South to Eastern Montana. We both grew up in North Carolina, and we've been here in Montana now for 14 years. I do want to offer a little caveat. We're talking about Eastern Montana, so I'm not saying this is all of Montana, and specifically Jordan. There's a couple things that are specific to our little town that have been fun to kind of get used to. Number 10. Language differences. The South is known for its accent and different phrases, but Montana has some of its own. And so we had to learn the different words. It's not a coyote, it's a coyote. An outfit. Somebody tells you that they like your outfit. They're not talking about your clothes. They're talking about your car or your vehicle. What are some of yours?
But you can't call a pickup truck a truck. It has to be a pickup. They're pickup, and then there's like a grain truck, and then there's a semi. So there are levels of
truck.
So that was a big one.
What is this called? Is this a buggy or a cart?
I still call it a shopping buggy, but they call it a cart here.
Number 9. The climate. Yes, the climate in Montana is very different than North Carolina. Yeah, the climate is much drier here, and the weather has extremes. We've seen over 110 during the summer, and we've seen well below zero in the winter. But the climate, with the lack of humidity and the dry climate, is quite a bit different than what we grew up with. Number 8, winter. Winter is very different here.
Yeah.
What do you think about winter?
It's cold.
It does get cold. Winters are long. It can start, it just changes every year, but it can start as early as September and go all the way to April or May.
Yeah.
So we have quite a bit of the year. I believe it's actually snowed every month of the year somewhere in Montana.
Probably.
So winters are long, and they're dark because of the latitude of the state where we are. It gets dark early and stays dark till later. So we have a short period of time during the day of daylight. Nothing like Alaska, but it's quite a bit different than it was in North Carolina. Number 7, the food. I miss Southern food. The variety of vegetables and things of that sort were quite a bit different. We live in the middle of beef country, so if you like steak or things of that nature, you're very good. Sharon loves the food here.
Meat and potatoes.
So that's been something we've had to get used to. Back in North Carolina, food itself could be the reason to have an event. and everything was geared around that. Although this week we are doing prime rib at the church, which is prime rib is an event here.
Corned beef and cabbage. They do that here in March. Traditionally, and that was something I'd never had before. I like it.
Number 6, the mail issue. Our post office does really good, but we don't have mail delivery to the house. So everybody in town has a P.O. box and you have to go there and get it, which means that our house numbers are not verified, and that makes delivery through UPS and FedEx interesting. I often have to tell places that we order from to override it and just tell it, send it anyway, because once it's on the mail, once it's on the truck to come to Jordan, the guy knows our name, and so we always get it. Even our post office, we can mail stuff in town with just a name on it because they know where it's going, but that causes problem for things outside of Jordan. And there is no such thing as overnight mail here unless it's from Miles City. We've ordered a couple things from Amazon and tried to get 2-day shipping or 1 day, and it's always an extra day just because it's just because of the nature of the isolation here. Number 5. Montana has a younger history than North Carolina. I remember in 8th grade doing North Carolina history, and they were talking about really, really old, all the way back to the beginning of the formation of the United States. And when we first moved out here, and even now, there are some people that remember the homesteader days. We just have had to come to grips with the idea that Montana is still very young. Our county just celebrated 100 years old. And so when you think about that, that was 1920 or 1919, which is pretty young. Number 4, pace of life. Sharon, elaborate.
I like the pace of life here. It's slower. It's more about relationships and visiting with people and less about being busy and having things to go to and things to do. There aren't a lot of things to do here. There are not as many sports as there are in other places, activities to take your kids to, so you just spend time with each other. So everything runs a little slower.
It's less about the quantity of what you do and more about the quality. I think we enjoy every minute a little bit more and have the opportunity to live in the present instead of constantly being rushing to the next thing on our calendar or event. So the pace of life we really, really enjoy. Number 3, the sense of community. I've got a friend here who says that Jordan is the place where you get 3 jobs for the price of 1. And what he's talking about is how everybody here volunteers and they take up their part of community and what they need to do. We have to take care of each other. We are a long ways from the next town, and we have necessities that have to be taken care of. And so the people here step up and do that. And that creates this sense of community that I don't think you find down in areas where you can just go to the next town and get what you need. And so sense of community has been really big for us. Jeremiah had a lot of learning when we would go visit Billings because he was expecting everybody to talk to him when he talked to them, and he was expecting people to be friendly and nice, and because that's the way it is in Jordan. Everybody knows everybody, and there's a real good sense of community. Yeah,
it kind of goes hand in hand with the pace of life because it takes longer to do things. If you go to the grocery store, you're going to visit with people. If you go to the post office, you're going to visit with people. And so your sense of community feeds into your pace of life or the other way around. They work together.
Number 2, the lack of conveniences. I didn't really like the way I've said that because they're not really conveniences. Once you've lived here a while, you realize that they are extras that we don't really need. fast food, wide selection of stores, all of the different things that we took for granted when we lived down south. When we moved here, you just don't have. We can't run to the local Best Buy. We can't run down to the local Lowe's. There's not one here. And so that would be a long trip to either Billings or Miles City in order to get some of those things. And you realize you can just do life fine without a lot of that extra stuff. And so even though we talk about conveniences and having to make plans for that, I don't really think they're convenient. I think they actually hinder life a little bit when you have so much distraction that's there. We slimmed down our budget and our life quite a bit and live just fine here without all of those amenities. When we want to watch a movie, we have to drive to Miles City or
in the theater, yeah.
In the theater, because we do have internet here, so we can watch movies. And that brings us to the number one change or thing that we learned as we moved here, and that is, again, winter. But the reason I put it as number one again is because we want to talk about why we love winter. We love winter. We think that it is the best time of the year. Personally, it's my favorite season. I've always loved winter. As a kid, Greg Fishel, when he would talk about snow, I would get really excited. Montana, though, knows how to do winter. Unlike Raleigh, that don't know how to winter, winter doesn't slow us down here. Winter is just another season, and we do what we have to do while we're here. But we get to enjoy snow. Sharon likes it because almost every year we have a white Christmas, right?
Yeah.
What other things of winter do you like?
I like when KJ starts a fire and I can just sit in by the fire and watch the snow.
We spend a lot of time visiting.
Yeah.
Winter gives you opportunities to work on little hobbies. Even the slow pace of life slows down just a little bit more, and we spend that time getting to hang out with family and doing a lot of different things.